Hey everyone, and welcome back to Augmented Voices, the podcast that likes to really get into the heart of AI. And today we're going to be looking at three stories, really interesting stories that are all kind of coming together to show how rapidly things are changing with AI. We've got chatbots that are giving doctors a run for their money, search engines that are becoming shopping platforms, and a Christmas ad campaign that's really causing a stir because of how much it relied on AI.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how all of these seemingly separate stories are actually all connected to these big trends in AI development and how we're all kind of figuring out what this means for us.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just jump right into that first story, that chatbot versus doctor showdown.
Hmm.
There was a new study published in JAMA Network Open, and it found that ChatGPT, the AI chatbot that everyone's been talking about, actually outperformed human doctors when it came to diagnosing medical conditions. And this was just based on patient histories.
Yeah, and the results were kind of shocking. ChatGPT, on its own, had an average accuracy score of 90%. Doctors who were using ChatGPT to help them, they scored 76%. And doctors who were just going off their own knowledge, they only scored 74%.
90%, that's a huge number. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even when the doctors had those recommendations from ChatGPT right in front of them, a lot of them still chose to go with their own initial diagnosis. They just weren't ready to fully trust the AI's insights.
I think this hesitation that we're seeing, even when AI is doing a better job, it shows just how important it is for us to really focus on training and making sure that these tools are integrated well into healthcare. We have the tech, but we need to make sure doctors know how to use it and understand what it can and can't do.
That's a really good point. It makes me wonder what this means for the future of healthcare.
Mhm.
Would you trust an AI diagnosis over your doctors, especially when it's that accurate?
This question is bigger than just healthcare, though. I mean, we see this kind of tension happening in other fields, too, as AI gets more and more advanced. On one hand, there's so much potential for it to make things better, like you said, more efficient, accurate, more accessible. But then there's the other side, those concerns about trust, about being able to understand how AI is working and, what happens to human experts when we rely on AI more and more.
Absolutely. And speaking of AI shaking things up, let's move on to Perplexity. It's a AI search engine, and it's decided to jump right into the world of online shopping. They've got this new feature for paid users in the US that lets you buy things directly from the search results.
Yeah, they're trying to make the whole online shopping experience happen all in one place. So let's say you're searching for a new coffee maker. Instead of getting a ton of links, you get these visual cards right there on Perplexity that show you all the details, the price, who's selling it, even the pros and cons, and then you can just click once and buy it.
Wow, that's convenient. But what does that mean for how we discover new products? What about those times when you stumble on something you didn't even know you wanted while you're browsing?
It's a great question, and it brings up the bigger impact AI might have on how we shop. Perplexity is going up against giants like Google and Amazon. It makes you wonder if this is how online shopping is going to work from now on and what that means for all those e-commerce companies. Are we headed toward this super personalized shopping experience where AI knows what we want before we do, or are we losing something along the way, like the fun of discovering something new?
Those are some really interesting things to think about. Okay, so for our last story, let's talk about Coca-Cola. They tried to make this heartwarming Christmas ad using AI, and, well, it kind of backfired.
Yeah, they worked with 3 different AI studios and used 4 different AI models. They wanted to create this ad with all the classic Christmas images you can think of, the red trucks, the snowy streets, all that holiday stuff. But instead of getting people in that warm and fuzzy mood, it seems like they mostly got criticism. People are saying the ad feels empty and like it doesn't have any of that real creativity that we usually see in ads around the holidays.
That makes sense. The holidays are all about connecting with people, feeling that warmth and emotion. So it's not surprising that people might be a little uncomfortable with the machine trying to create that feeling for us. Is this a sign that AI has its limits, or is it more about how we're choosing to use it?
I think it definitely shows us that even though AI is great at doing things quickly and creating cool visuals, it
Yeah.
might not be able to capture that human element, that special something, especially when we're talking about something as meaningful as a Christmas ad.
This whole thing has really sparked a bigger debate about whether AI belongs in creative fields. Can a machine really be creative like a person, or is there something special about the human touch, especially when it comes to things that are about feelings and culture?
It's a debate that's going to keep going as AI gets better and better. Some people see it as a threat to human creativity, like it's taking away from what artists do. Others see it as a tool that can help us be even more creative and come up with things we never could have before. The trick is figuring out how to find that balance.
So what we're seeing here is this really interesting tension. AI is doing amazing things in areas like healthcare and online shopping, but it's also showing us that it might not be so great at capturing those human emotions and that spark of creativity. It's clear that AI is changing fast, and we're all still figuring out where it fits in our lives.
You're right. These stories bring up so many questions. How do we make sure AI is a good thing and not a bad thing? How do we make sure it helps us instead of replacing things that are important about being human? And as AI keeps evolving, how do we make sure it makes our lives better, not worse?
These are all really important questions that we need to keep thinking about. We'll be back after a quick break to talk more about what these stories mean and what the future might hold for AI. But for now, what are your thoughts on all of this?
It's really interesting how all these stories kind of turn what we think we know about AI on its head.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. We always talk about how AI is like this logic machine that crunches data. But can it really get things like creativity or emotions? And these stories seem to show that the line's getting kind of blurry.
Exactly like that Coca-Cola ad. AI could handle making those visuals no problem, but it just couldn't capture that special feeling of the holidays.
It's almost like it aced the technical stuff, but completely missed the heart of it all. And I think that kind of disconnect really taps into something people are worried about.
Yeah, like as AI gets better, is it just going to make things that look flashy, but don't actually have any real meaning behind them?
But then we have that chatbot outperforming doctors. That's
Yeah.
not just about how things look or feel. That's about real life-saving analysis.
Absolutely. And that story brings up a whole other set of challenges. It's not just what AI can do, it's whether we're willing to accept it. Those doctors had proof that the AI was better at diagnosing, but they still hesitated to trust it.
It really makes you think, what other fields are going to be turned upside down by AI?
The possibilities are huge. We could see whole job markets change, ethical questions that we haven't even thought of yet, and even how we define human intelligence could be up for debate.
So how does the average person wrap their head around all of this? How do we live in a world where AI is becoming part of everything we do?
That is the million-dollar question. I think the key is to stay informed, be critical, and talk about this stuff. What are the good things about AI? What are the bad things? Where do we draw the line? How do we make sure it's used ethically?
It's so easy to get caught up in all the hype or the fear around AI,
Yeah,
but we have a say in how it's developed and used.
that's right. AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for the right reasons or the wrong ones. It's up to us to guide how it's made, set limits, and make sure it helps people.
Well said. And on that note, let's go back to Perplexity and their dive into e-commerce. They're putting a lot of trust in AI to make online shopping super personal and easy. But do people really want that?
It's definitely a gamble. A lot of people love convenience, and Perplexity's approach might be really appealing to them. But there's also the risk of what some people call filter bubbles, where AI kind of narrows down our choices so much that we miss out on new things.
So it's like having a personal shopper who only takes you to their favorite stores,
Yeah,
even if there are tons of other places you might love if you just had the chance to see them.
exactly. So we're back to this idea of balance. How do we use the good parts of AI without giving up our freedom to choose and our ability to be open to new experiences?
That's a question we need to keep asking as AI gets more and more advanced. We have to be smart about how we use technology and understand what it can do and what it can't do.
We have to really think about the choices we're making online and how those choices might be influenced by those algorithms that are running everything behind the scenes.
We've covered a lot today, from AI doctors to AI shoppers to AI Christmas ads that miss the mark. It's clear that AI isn't some futuristic idea anymore. It's here, it's changing fast, and it's affecting our lives in big ways.
We're living in a time of amazing technological progress. It's exciting and challenging and maybe even a little overwhelming all at the same time.
That's why we do this show, to help everyone understand it all. Before we wrap up, is there one big takeaway you hope our listeners will remember from this episode?
I think the biggest thing is remembering that we're not just watching all this happen with AI. We can actually do something. We can shape how it's made, demand that it's transparent, and make sure those in charge are using it for the right reasons.
You're so right, we're not just passengers. We have a say in what happens with AI. And it starts with talking about it, asking those tough questions, and really understanding what's going on.
Exactly. We need to be thinking about what's right and wrong when it comes to AI in all these different areas.
Yeah.
Healthcare, e-commerce, creative fields. How do we make sure everyone benefits from it, not just a few people? How do we make sure it's used responsibly?
Those are big questions, and there aren't any easy answers.
Yeah.
But it all starts with talking about it, sharing different viewpoints and learning from each other.
And it's not just about having those big discussions as a society. It's about talking to our friends and family about it in our own communities. AI is affecting our everyday lives, so it's something we should all be thinking and talking about.
I love that it's easy to think of AI as this big, complicated thing, but it's being made and used by people, by companies, by governments. We have to hold them accountable and make sure it reflects what we believe in.
Exactly, and who knows, maybe someone listening right now will be the one to create the next big AI breakthrough, something that solves a huge problem or makes the world a fairer place.
That's what's so exciting about this field. There's so many possibilities. But we have to make sure those possibilities are used to make things better for everyone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI.
It's been great exploring all of this with you.
And to all of you listening, keep learning about AI. Stay curious. Keep asking those questions and share your own thoughts. The future of AI is being written right now, and we all have a part in shaping it. Until next time on Augmented Voices.